Definition of arousal. The definition of arousal is a state of alertness, anticipation that prepares you for action. It involves physical activity for the sympathetic automatic nervous system and cognitive activity. Arousal is necessary for good performance, although too much arousal can hinder performance. This is a fight or flight response. Explanation of drive theory. As arousal increases, so does performance. Drive theory suggests that the relationship between arousal and performance is a linear one. Therefore, high arousal means a better performance. The equation for drive theory is P equals H times D, which means performance equals habit times drive, which means how well you play is affected by how you normally perform the skill and the amount of arousal. An example of this: if you are a novice and you perform the skill badly, normally when arousal is then high, it will make you perform the skill worse. Whereas if an expert who's used to performing the skills in normal conditions, once in high arousal, drive theory suggests that they'll perform better. Dominant response of drive theory. In further research into this rather than simplistic theory led to the recognition that a performer's dominant response may affect arousal. The term dominant response relates to the performers most likely to respond to. An example of this is a beginner. The dominant response is to make mistakes and to perform the skill incorrectly, whereas an experienced athlete dominant response is to perform the skill accurately and consistently. Drive theory now suggests that the arousal increases, it becomes more likely that the performer will produce their dominant response, so a beginner with high arousal will perform worse because of their incorrect dominant response will be performed. Inverted U theory. This suggests that the relationship between arousal and the performance in simple performance is at its best when arousal levels are moderate. Too much or too little arousal means a decline in performance. Although this theory applies to some sport performance in some situations, it is obviously not applicable to all. For example, a moderate level of arousal is going to produce the best performance. For a weightlifter, that needs to be really psyched up before performing, or a snooker player who needs to be calm and relaxed to play effectively. Moderate levels of arousal are suited to an extrovert personality type who like to be placed in high pressure situations, or to an introvert personality who can't cope when pressure is placed on the sports person. Moderate levels of arousal in sports persons produce to get the best performance for a beginner who is only just learning a skill, or an experienced performer who can become bored when performing a skill without significant pressure being placed upon them. The inverted U theory was therefore adapted to take into account both the type of skill performed and the performer. Types of task. When performing an activity that is a fine skill, a difficult skill that requires a lot of thought and precision, such as a snooker shot, performance tends to be at its best when arousal levels are low. When performing a task that is gross, simple movement requiring a little thought, such as a 100-metre sprint, the performance is at its best when it's high arousal. Personality of performer. Performers with extrovert personalities tend to enjoy situations that place them under pressure and cause their arousal levels to increase significantly. Introvert personalities type people who are quite quiet and shy cannot cope when placed in situations when their arousal increases and perform best with lower levels of arousal. Skill of performer. Performers who can do a skill well will become bored if they are in a situation where little pressure is placed upon them, and so experienced performers perform best when the arousal levels are high. An example of this is Premiership footballers players tend to play better when they are playing in big games than when they are playing lower league games in the early stages of unimportant competition. However, someone who is learning how to do the new skill will find it difficult if they are placed in highly pressured situations. They are likely to become over-aroused and make mistakes. Low levels of arousal there produce the best performance for beginners. Adaptations to the inverted U theory. The inverted U theory was adapted to take these factors into account. The shape remains an inverted U, but the curve is moved to the left for those performers and tasks best suited to low levels of arousal, and to the right for the performers and tasks suited to high level arousal.
Catastrophe theory. Catastrophe theory says as arousal increases, so does performance. However, it also explains the effects of too much and too little arousal on sports performance. Catastrophe theory says, along with inverted U, that when arousal reaches the performance moderate level, that is when they will reach their peak performance. Catastrophe differs from inverted U because it says when arousal levels become too high, the performance will drop to a low point. This dramatic decline in performance is usually as a result of somatic and cognitive anxieties. One of the most common is the performer begins to worry. This worry they begin to feel is cognitive anxiety. It is the combination of high arousal levels and cognitive anxiety that causes the dramatic decline in performance. What happens after the extreme decline in performance? After the extreme decline in performance, the performer needs to have the ability to calm them down, to return to a level where they have the potential to reach their peak performance again. The athlete has to relax enough so their arousal level is below what it was when the decrease occurred. Therefore, the different ways that sports performers can try and get their arousal levels to below when the catastrophe occurred, and often each athlete will do something different, something that works for them. Some of the most common ways to do this and therefore get performance to start increasing again is breathing control. By focusing on something like breathing rate, it will take your attention away from whatever caused the arousal to continue or increase. Another method that could be used to try and increase performance level again is mental rehearsal. When the performer is performing badly, they can start to visualise themselves performing well, and again taking the focus away from their bad performance and making them think about performing well. The effects of being in the zone. For a performer who reaches the zone, they will show many different characteristics. One effect of being in the zone is they will begin to gain extreme confidence. They will have the confidence in their own abilities, confidence that they will succeed and will have no fear of failing. They will also have automatic control. They will successfully complete many skills without much conscious control. This helps them keep their high performance because mistakes will be kept low. Another effect is they will have extreme focus. The performer will be fully absorbed in the game in their own performance, and time will feel low as it is standing still while at top performance. This good performance will become effortless. They will continue to perform at a high level without much focused effort, so they won't have to consciously think about how they're performing and what they are going to do next. They will just do it. While in the zone, they will also be surprisingly relaxed. They will be wrapped up in the game and enjoying their success. The effects of being under and over aroused. The ability to get to and keep moderate levels of arousal is often the biggest downfall for many athletes, but too much and too little arousal during a performance can have a massive effect on the player's performance in a negative way. Having too little arousal during a game can lead to lapse in concentration and lack of motivation. The lapse in concentration and lack of motivation can lead to the athlete's performance beginning to decrease because they will have to start to make more mistakes. For sports performance, high levels of arousal prove to be the bigger problem. When the performer exceeds at their moderate arousal level, it will lead to negative effects in both a mental and physical way.